When my daughter died, I thought that was the bottom of grief. I was wrong. The real bottom is the moment you look at your grandchild and realize you've been feeding a lie for years. My name is Robert. I'm not a wealthy man, but I do have principles. And after Claire's funeral, I broke every one of them. Jason, her husband, stood at my front door, eyes red, voice shaking. Dad, I'll raise her. I swear I will. But I'm drowning. I don't want her to go without. And I did what a lot of grandparents in pain do. I opened my wallet. I paid the rent. I paid the school fees. I paid for therapy. Month after month, I funded Jason's life for one reason only. As long as my granddaughter was okay, I could live with it. Until last night. At the park, my granddaughter tugged on my sleeve, leaned close, and whispered like she was afraid even the air might tell on her. Grandpa, why does Daddy go to that lady's house every night? I froze. What lady? She swallowed hard. I don't know her name. But Daddy puts on cologne, gets dressed up, and tells me to go to sleep early. I saw his car parked outside her house. Every night. Markend. In that moment, the money I'd been sending stopped feeling like help. It turned into a cold, brutal question. Was I supporting my granddaughter? Or was I financing a man who used my daughter's death to keep a mistress? I didn't hate Jason at first. I actually felt sorry for him. Claire was gone, and he was the one left raising a child. I told myself, I have to help him stay standing so my granddaughter doesn't fall apart. At the funeral, Jason played the role perfectly. A grieving husband, broken but devoted. He held the little girl's hand and said all the right things. I'll take care of her for Claire. I won't let her grow up without love. Then he brought up money. Smoothly. Not blunt. Dad, I'm not asking you to support me. Just help with her. I don't want her falling behind other kids. I agreed. I even set up a system. A fixed amount transferred every month. In my mind, I was doing it right, supporting my granddaughter, not him. But over time, that routine turned into something expected. Whenever I asked for receipts, Jason would brush it off. Dad, I'm overwhelmed. Please don't ask too much. Whenever I wanted to visit, he'd say, she's in therapy. If you come, she'll just miss her mom more. It all sounded reasonable. Too reasonable. And that's what made it dangerous. Because I was busy grieving. Busy trying to be a decent man. I didn't notice that Jason's life was starting to look nothing like someone struggling. A new phone, a new watch, expensive cologne, and more nights where he was suddenly busy. I kept telling myself, as long as my granddaughter is okay, that's what matters. Until she asked me that question, and in that moment, I realized something simple and brutal. Children see what adults try to hide. The next morning, I took my granddaughter out for breakfast. I didn't push her like an interrogation kid's shut down when they feel cornered. I just asked gently, like we were talking about school, can you tell Grandpa again where your dad goes at night? She looked around, then whispered, I'm not supposed to say. Daddy will get mad. I lowered my voice. I won't tell him. I just want you to be safe. She let out a breath, then told it in pieces. Daddy tells me to sleep early. He turns off my lights, then changes his clothes. He dresses nice, puts on cologne, like he's going to a party. Then he drives away. I look through the curtain. I see his car parked in front of a lady's house. What else did you see? Sometimes she comes out and opens the door. She smiles. Daddy gives her a bag. I swallowed hard. Then I asked the last question. How long has this been happening? She looked down. A long time. Almost every night. I didn't ask the woman's name. I knew she wouldn't have that kind of detail, but I knew one thing for sure. If Jason was truly exhausted from grief, He wouldn't have that kind of energy every single night. I drove her home. Before she got out of the car, she grabbed my hand. "Grandpa, don't tell Daddy I told you. I'm scared." I nodded. "I won't. I'll find out myself." And in that moment, I made a decision. From now on, I wouldn't send money based on trust. I'd send it based on the truth. That afternoon, I stopped by Jason's house. No warning. I wanted to see what this struggling life he kept talking about actually looked like. Jason opened the door with a polite smile, but the moment he saw me, his eyes flickered just for a second like someone caught off guard. I looked down at his shoes, brand new. At his wrist, a gleaming watch. Inside, the house smelled of cologne and scented candles, not the scent of a family barely getting by. My granddaughter was sitting on the couch. She looked at me, then glanced at Jason before she dared to say hello. That one glance made my neck go hot. Jason spoke like he'd rehearsed it. "Good timing, Dad. I was just about to text you. I'll need a bit more this month. There's a new therapy expense for her." I asked calmly, "Show me the bill." His smile tightened. "Dad, I've got a lot going on. You trust me, don't you?" I met his eyes. "This isn't about trust. It's about transparency." He sighed, shifting straight into the victim role. "You're putting a lot of pressure on me. I'm doing all of this for her. Same script. Always pulling my granddaughter out like a shield." I nodded. No argument. Just, "All right. I understand. I'll take a look." But the moment I stepped out of that house, I locked one thing in my mind. He's not short on money. He's short on character. And if my granddaughter says he visits another woman every night, then chances are the money I've been sending isn't just support. It's funding a second life. That night, I sat alone at the kitchen table and opened my bank statements. At my age, you don't have much left to lose. But you do have something younger. People often lack clarity. You stop looking at excuses. You look at patterns. I filtered the last 24 months. The transfers I made to Jason were clear enough, but what sent a chill down my spine were the additional charges from his own card transactions. He'd accidentally exposed the few times I stood next to him at checkout. Upscale restaurants, weekend hotels, jewelry stores, and one repeating pattern. Transactions around 9:10 p.m., right when my granddaughter said, "Daddy tells me to go to sleep." I looked at the times, the dates, the locations. Everything lined up like clockwork. I didn't jump to conclusions, but I knew this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a habit. I calculated the total amount I'd supported him since Claire died. The number hit me like a punch to the throat. It wasn't just money. It was trust, love, sacrifice. And then I heard my granddaughter's voice again. Every night, Daddy goes to that lady's house. I closed the laptop and took a slow breath. I couldn't afford to explode. If I made noise, Jason would clean everything up, take my granddaughter, and I'd lose the only thing that still mattered. I needed someone who could get their hands dirty for me, someone who knew how to turn suspicion into proof. The next morning, I met Rick, a private investigator a friend had recommended. He didn't ask about feelings. He asked for data. "What do you want?" I answered with one sentence. "I want to know who my money is really supporting, and I want to protect my granddaughter." Rick nodded and pulled out a notebook. "I need 3 things from you. First, your transfer history, dates, and amounts. Second, Jason's routine, when he leaves, when he comes back. Third, anything the child has said." I gave him everything. Rick scanned it, then said bluntly, "If your son-in-law is cheating, we'll catch it with photos, timestamps, and locations. If he's misusing money meant for the child, that's leverage in family court." I asked, "And me? What do I do?" Rick looked me straight in the eye. "You stay quiet. Keep playing the good grandfather. Don't let him smell anything. Tell him the money's coming, keep him comfortable." He stood up and added one last line. like driving in a nail. You don't need a fight. You need the truth. And when the truth comes with proof, it collapses on its own. I walked out of that cafe with a feeling I hadn't had in months. I wasn't being led by sympathy anymore. From now on, I'd speak to Jason in the only language he truly understood: evidence. That night, Rick texted me just 4 words. He's on the move. I sat still in my car, a few blocks away from Jason's house. My heart was pounding like I was the one doing something wrong when I wasn't. 9:17. Jason stepped out. Not in some worn-out t-shirt. A pressed shirt. Hair done. Cologne on. He locked the door quietly, like he didn't want to wake the child sleeping inside. Rick tailed him, keeping his distance. His voice came through my earpiece. "Don't get close. Don't let him see you." Jason turned into another neighborhood and stopped in front of an apartment building. Dim yellow hallway lights. No sign. No work. Just the kind of place people go when they want to hide. He knocked twice. The door opened almost instantly. A woman stood there. Silk nightdress. Hair still damp, like she'd just showered. She smiled and pulled him inside like this was routine. Rick snapped photos, license plate, unit number, the moment Jason disappeared behind the door. I clenched my jaw until it hurt. I thought I was paying to help a single father raise his child. Turns out, I was funding a double life. Rick texted again. "He's inside. Want to blow this open now?" "None." I took a slow breath and whispered, "No, I want everything. I want him to fall under the weight of his own evidence." For 3 nights straight, Jason went to that same apartment. Same time. Same routine. No variation. Rick handed me a stack of printed photos. Jason going in. Jason coming out. Jason carrying gift bags. Jason smiling like he'd never buried a wife. Then he dropped something heavier than photos on the table. The money trail. "The woman's name is Lena," Rick said. "Works at a spa." And guess what? Jason's statements show regular payments to that spa. On top of that, rent for that apartment, paid from the same account you've been sending your support to. I stared at the numbers. My mind went cold. I asked, "What about my granddaughter?" Rick didn't soften it. "While he's with Lena, the child's been left home alone multiple times." I clenched my fists. Not out of jealousy for my daughter. Out of something worse, guilt. I had been paying for him to neglect the child Claire left behind. Rick leaned back. "So, do you want to hit him emotionally or legally?" I met his eyes. "Legally. I want every dollar redirected into a fund for my granddaughter. Nothing goes through him anymore. And I want him to walk himself into the truth." Rick nodded, like he'd expected that answer. Then we set a meeting. "You bait him with money, he'll show. A greedy man never skips a payday." I texted Jason exactly what he'd respond to. "I'm thinking of setting up an education fund for her, but I need to review the last 12 months of expenses for the paperwork." He replied unusually fast. "Yes, Dad. Thank you." Rick gave a dry smile. "See? Money bait he runs." The next night, I took a corner table. Phone face up. Recording on. Rick sat across the room, filming from a distance. Jason walked in, still smelling like cologne, still carrying that busy energy of someone living comfortably. He sat down and spoke first. "How much are you planning to put into the fund?" I stayed calm. "First, I need to know where the money I've been sending is going." He sighed, like he was the one being wronged. "Dad, I've been taking care of her." I slid one photo across the table. Just one. Jason, standing outside Lena's apartment. His face dropped instantly. "What is this?" he snapped. I spoke slowly. "This is why my granddaughter asked me, 'Why does Daddy go to that lady's house every night?'" Jason half stood up. "You're spying on me." I held his gaze. "I'm tracking my money. And I'm protecting my granddaughter." He sank back into the chair. His hands started to shake, and right there, I knew. One more push, and he'd start talking. Jason switched to the victim card. Dad, I'm lonely. Claire's gone. I'm human too. I didn't raise my voice. I just laid the bank statements on the table and pointed to the charges. Rent, spa, restaurants. Lonely and spending exactly the money I sent for my granddaughter? He froze. Then the anger came, because when a liar gets cornered, they attack. So what? You want me to live miserable forever? You want my daughter to see me as a failure? A beater fay, a beater fay, a beater fay, a beater fay. I gave a small nod. I want her to see her father as a decent man. You chose something else. Jason slipped, his real voice breaking through. I need to keep up appearances. I need a life. You think raising a kid is easy? I leaned in, voice steady. Raising a child is hard. Funding a mistress with her grandfather's money? That part seems pretty easy. He started breathing fast, glanced around, then lowered his voice. Don't make this a big deal. I leaned closer. No. From now on, the money goes straight into her fund. You don't touch it. Jason's eyes widened, and in that moment, it was crystal clear. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of losing the money. The next morning, I did the thing a weak people avoid. I cut it off. I sent Jason a formal email. From this month on, all support goes directly into an education fund under my granddaughter's name. Any necessary expenses must come with real receipts. My visitation schedule will be fixed. No more asking permission. Jason called immediately, yelling, "You don't have the right." I answered calmly, "My right is simple. I don't fund a man who leaves his child alone to go sleep with his mistress." Rick helped me file in family court, financial transparency, and an evaluation of the child's living conditions. Not to win. To remove Jason's ability to hide behind the child. My granddaughter looked at me, scared. "Grandpa, is Daddy mad at me?" I knelt down and said firmly, "No one gets to be mad at you for telling the truth." That night, Jason didn't go to Lena's place. Not because he changed, because he panicked. Greedy men don't stop. They pause when the money gets cut. And I knew what would come next. Begging. Threats. Maybe trying to turn people against me. But this time, I had the one thing he couldn't fight. Evidence. 2 days later, an unknown number called me. "Is this Robert?" "I'm Lena." Her voice was sweet but slick, like oil. "I'd like to talk. Jason's under a lot of pressure. You cutting the money like that, it affects everyone." I almost laughed. Everyone meant who? My granddaughter, or her? I asked her straight. "Do you know that money was meant to raise Claire's child?" There was a brief pause. Then, "Jason deserves to be happy too." "Claire is gone, sir." My voice went cold. Happiness doesn't come out of a grandfather's wallet. She shifted, irritation slipping through. "You're being unfair." Jason said, "You promised to help." I cut her off. "I promised to help my granddaughter, not to support you." I hung up, and right then something became crystal clear. If Lena actually cared about Jason, the first question she would have asked is his daughter okay? But she didn't call about the child. She called about the money. That told me everything. Jason didn't just betray my daughter. He brought someone else in to normalize a life built on taking. I texted Rick, "That's enough. File everything. I want the court to see it all." A month later, the court issued a temporary ruling. All support had to go through a monitored account for the child. Jason was required to provide real receipts, and I was granted a fixed visitation schedule. Jason lost his free money. Lena disappeared as fast as she appeared. Turns out, their love was thinner than a bank statement. That weekend, my granddaughter stayed with me. "Grandpa, did I do something wrong?" I shook my head. "No. You did something right. You protected yourself. I stood in front of Claire's photo, resting my hand on the frame. I couldn't bring my daughter back, but I could do the one thing she trusted me to do: protect her child. I didn't get revenge. I just stopped being blind. Yes, I lost a lot of money because I trusted the wrong person. But what I almost lost forever was a child growing up inside a lie, learning that adults can betray without consequences. So if you were in my place, would you keep sending money to keep the peace? Or would you tighten control so the child gets a fair, honest life? I'll be straight with you, you already know the answer. Peace built on lies isn't peace. It's just delayed damage. If a child's future is on the line, you don't negotiate with comfort. You protect what matters. Every time.